I don't know if I should even be telling you this, but some things are too horrifying to keep buried. These stories aren't just legends. They happened to me. And if you're listening, they could happen to you too. It started with scratching. At first, I thought it was just a rat. Maybe some pest had crawled into the air vent in my apartment. The sound was faint, barely noticeable, like tiny claws scraping against metal. But over the next few nights, it got louder, more deliberate. I tried ignoring it. I'd turn up the TV, play music while I slept, anything to drown out the sound. But then, the whispers started. At first, they were so soft I thought I was imagining them, a hushed, slithering voice threading through the darkness. I would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, holding my breath, listening. Then one night, I woke up unable to move. Sleep paralysis, I told myself. I had experienced it before, a terrifying, helpless feeling, but nothing supernatural. Yet as I lay there frozen, my eyes drifted to the vent above my bed, and I saw it, a face, pressed against the vent cover, staring down at me. Its skin was ashen and stretched too tight over its skull. Its eyes too large, too black, too hungry. It grinned, revealing jagged teeth, as its long skeletal fingers pushed against the vent cover. It was trying to get out. I wanted to scream, but my voice was trapped in my throat. My fingers twitched, my body trembling with the effort to move, to run, to do anything. But I was helpless, watching as the vent cover slowly, silently, began to slide open. Then just as suddenly as it started, the paralysis broke. I jolted upright, gasping, and the thing, whatever it was, vanished. The vent cover was still intact, closed, like nothing had happened. But I knew what I saw. I barely slept after that. I tried telling myself it was a hallucination, a trick of my sleep-deprived mind. But the whispers didn't stop. Neither did the scratching. And every night I would lie in bed, staring at that vent, wondering if it would open again, and if next time, I wouldn't wake up in time. It started when I moved into a cheap apartment in a quiet part of town. The place wasn't perfect. Old plumbing, creaky floors, but it was all I could afford. The only real downside was the locked room at the end of the hallway. The landlord told me, "It stays locked. Don't try to open it." I didn't question it at first, but at night I heard noises from inside. Soft shuffling, the sound of something dragging across the floor. Sometimes it sounded like breathing. One night, curiosity got the best of me. I kneeled in front of the door and peeked through the keyhole. I saw red, just a deep, pulsing shade of red, like a cloth covering the other side of the keyhole. My stomach twisted. Maybe the landlord had put something there to block the view. I pulled away unsettled. The next day, I casually asked my neighbor about the room. His face went pale. He hesitated before speaking, his voice barely above a whisper. "A man used to live there," he said. "He was different. He never spoke, never left. And one day, he just disappeared, but people still hear him at night." I laughed it off, pretending it didn't bother me. But that night, the noises were louder, shuffling, scraping. A long, drawn-out sigh from the other side of the door. I couldn't help myself. I had to look again. I pressed my eye to the keyhole and stared directly into an eye staring back at me. I jerked back, my heart slamming against my ribs. My hands shook as I scrambled away from the door. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I called the landlord, demanded answers. He sighed as if he had been expecting this. "I should have told you," he said. "Years ago, a man lived in that room. He had strange eyes, completely red, not bloodshot, just red. He used to watch people through the keyhole, and even after he was gone, some say he never really left." I moved out that same day. I never went back. But sometimes at night, I still wake up feeling like someone's watching me. And when I check my door, I see a shadow beneath it, waiting. Moving into a new apartment alone was supposed to be a fresh start. I had just gotten out of a long relationship and needed space, somewhere quiet, somewhere to clear my head. The place was perfect, small, affordable, and with a huge old mirror built into the closet door. At first, I loved that mirror. It made the space look bigger, and in the mornings, I'd check my reflection as I got ready for the day. But after a week, I started noticing strange things. One night, as I was brushing my teeth, I glanced at the mirror out of habit. My reflection stood there, mimicking my movements. But as I turned to grab my towel, it didn't turn away at the same time. It was only for a split second, barely noticeable. I convinced myself I was tired and imagining things. But then, it happened again. I started paying more attention. Little things felt off. The reflection seemed a second too slow sometimes. The angles didn't always match perfectly, like I was watching a bad video feed. One night I waved at myself playfully, but my reflection didn't wave back immediately. It hesitated, then copied me, just a little too late. A cold unease settled in my stomach, but I told myself it was stress, lack of sleep. Maybe the mirror was warped. And then one night, I woke up to the sound of soft tapping. I groggily opened my eyes, my room bathed in darkness. The tapping was light, rhythmic, like fingernails drumming against glass. I turned toward the closet. My heart stopped. There was a handprint on the inside of the mirror. I bolted upright, my breath hitching in my throat. The room was freezing. The handprint was pressed against the glass, as if someone was inside trying to get out. I stared in horror, unable to move. And then, I saw it. A shadow moved inside the glass. A dark, twisted silhouette, standing behind my reflection. Its head tilted, its mouth stretching into something that looked like a grin. And then, slowly my reflection turned to face it. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was frozen. My own reflection wasn't looking at me anymore. It was looking at whatever stood behind it. And then, in the dim light, it smiled. Not a normal smile, not my smile. Something else. Something wrong. I stumbled out of bed, heart racing. My reflection still stood there, grinning, but I wasn't smiling. I wasn't even moving anymore. And then, the worst part, it raised its hand and waved at me. I didn't stop to think. I grabbed the heaviest object I could find, a lamp, and hurled it at the mirror. The glass shattered, a deafening crash ringing through the apartment. Shards exploded across the floor, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I stood there panting, heart hammering in my chest. And then, silence. I didn't sleep that night. I barely breathed. The next morning, I called my landlord and demanded they take the mirror away. They removed the shattered pieces, replaced the closet door, and I told myself it was over. But sometimes, even now, I catch my reflection in other mirrors, and I swear, it's still smiling.